was about 10 years old when this happened. It was August in 2012, and summer break was about to be over. That summer, my family and I had a cat that ran away. Her name was Mags, and I was pretty close to that cat. My parents would always let me stay up until midnight over the summer because I wouldn't have to get up for school the next morning. One night, after heading to bed, I couldn't fall asleep because I heard something coming from outside. I couldn't tell what it was at first until I got out of bed and walked into the kitchen. I heard it again. It's a cat. What if it's Mags? I thought. I opened the front door and walked out into the front yard. I heard it again. But it was coming from further out into the yard, where it was too dark to see. I walked out further and waited for another meow before hearing my dad call out my name behind me. I turned around to see my dad in the doorway. "What the hell are you doing?" he asked me with a tone. "I heard a cat. I think it's Mags," I replied. "It's probably just a stray. Just come back inside. It's past your bedtime." I nodded and went inside. The rest of the night, before falling asleep, I didn't hear another meow. I spent most of the next day playing in the backyard, hoping to see or hear the cat, but I didn't hear anything until later that night, at around the same time as the night before. I was in bed dozing off until I heard the cat again. This time, I could hear it outside my room. I got up and looked out the window. I scanned my backyard through my window, hoping to see something, before I noticed something small run across over the edge of the wall outside. This was my chance. I walked outside my room and approached the backyard door and slowly began to open it, before it suddenly made a loud squeal. Immediately after, I heard something outside climb onto the roof. I walked outside to see if I could spot it. I remained outside for another noise, but after about a minute, I went back inside. The rest of that night, it was dead quiet. The next day, I made the choice of not being too paranoid about the cat. Whether it was Mags or not, it was a normal summer day. That same night, my parents allowed me to watch TV in the living room until bedtime. Unfortunately, I passed out on the sofa around 10:30 p.m. I eventually woke up at the same time to the same noise. The meowing, except this time, I had no interest in going outside to play cat and mouse and not see anything, even though the mouse of the situation actually was a cat. Or so I thought it was. At this point, I only wanted to just see it, even if I couldn't catch it, because I still had not seen the supposed cat. I got up from the sofa and sat down at the dining room table to observe the front yard through the window. I didn't see a damn thing for a while. It was then that I heard another meow. Soon after, I heard my parents' bedroom door open. I turned to see my mom in her robe with a surprised expression on her face. "I heard that one," she whispered to me. "Maybe Mags found her way back home," she continued. She went over to the kitchen to get a flashlight from one of the drawers. "I'll check the front yard, see if you can find her in the back." "Okay," I replied. She walked out the front door with the flashlight, calling Mags' name out. I slowly walked out the backyard and snuck over to where I had previously heard the meow. I could still hear my mom on the other side calling for Mags before I heard another meow loud and clear. I then snuck over to where I heard it. I was excited to find my lost cat until I realized that This was not a cat. I reached the area where I heard it, and I don't know if I'll ever forget what I saw. Hiding behind the backyard fence was a man, a completely naked, skinny man, covered in mud. Not a single hair on his body, except for the cat ears that were sewn to the top of his head. He was meowing towards my mom on the other side, but he didn't know I was behind him. My plan was to slowly slip back inside and tell my mom to come back in before calling the police. But as I tried to step back, I stepped on something that clattered on the ground. The man immediately turned around and looked in my direction in a heartbeat, the way a cat would. I stood there, trembling, as his psychotic, cat-like eyes met mine. A wide smile stretched across his face. But this was no genuine smile. No. This was the smile of a madman. From that distance, he was staring into my soul. I could no longer stand the sight of this maniac. I stepped back once again, before the man made a noise that didn't even sound human. I bolted back into the house and shut the backyard door, locking it. I could already see that my mom was inside, with her phone in her hand, talking to a 911 operator. And my dad was holding a baseball bat. My dad rushed over to me, pulled me into the living room, and sat me down on the sofa before pointing his finger in my face, saying, "Don't move." He then walked out into the backyard with a good grip on his bat. Soon after, I heard my dad yell, "The hell is that?" My mom and I looked at each other before we both looked out the front window to see the man running away on all fours. Rather quickly, before we saw my dad chase after him with his bat. As the man ran out of sight, my dad yelled out, "You cross my property again, I'll bash your fucking head in." The police arrived shortly after, and my parents explained everything to them. I overheard that the police were already looking for this guy, that he had been seen around the city, harassing families who all had missing cats. One thing I know from the way this man looked at me is he had bad intentions, and he is still out there. So if you ever hear a cat meowing outside your house in the middle of the night, just know that that might not be a cat.